Like Mark, you remember those days?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Aw.
Are you
Yeah,
in Colorado?
I'm in Colorado. Yeah, the west side of Denver.
Exciting.
Actually, the city called Arvada,
All
but
right.
I'm on the very southern southeastern border of Arvada, which basically comes right up to Denver. So I'm
That's
like 10 to 20 minutes away from everything in Denver.
so are you guys like, is everything opening back up or is it still locked down?
Honestly, I don't even know, and I don't really care.
Yes. I love it.
It's I haven't really I don't know, I've sort of established this like routine inside of my bubble. I don't go out unless I'm going to the grocery store. I've gone to, a few places that offer curbside pickup where they'll just throw it in my trunk. I don't even get out of the car, like Home Depot and the garden center right across here in my neighborhood. And um, I don't know. I mean, uh, it seems just like um, there's a whole there's going to be a whole wave of things happening, and I just don't really want to be a part of it
Oh,
either way. I mean,
I love it, dude. I
if it's positive, that's great,
I'm with
and
you.
then I will get in there. If it's negative, that's terrible, and I will continue to do what I've been doing.
I'll stay in my bubble. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, it's just out of respect for the most vulnerable among us, and I would rather, as everything kind of I do in my life, I would rather just err on the side of, I don't know if caution is the right word. Maybe not everything I do in my life, but
I was just gonna
I tend to just I don't want to step on anybody's garden.
I got you,
Yeah.
man. It's a weird thing. Like this thing that's going on has painted a very weird picture for all of us that like I honestly have no frame of reference for.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about is something.
Excuse me.
No, it's good. It's all good. It's something that's it's very eminent right now. Like anybody that has an opinion at this stage in the game, you're gonna fucking step on somebody's toes where we're at.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
there's no way around it. It's weird, and like I never felt like that before. I'm a lot like you, like in the political world and all that stuff. Like I never,
Yeah.
I always
Nothing's
said I don't live in their world in the first place. Why am I going to take part in all that? Like I'm from somewhere else. I'm an alien. I don't have a say in any of this. But now it's like in my face, and they're making decisions that are affecting my life, and then my opinions piss people off, and I have to watch what
Yeah,
I say, and like, what the fuck happened, man?
yeah. I think we've lived in this internet age for quite some time now.
Yeah,
Um, and I actually have always felt this sort of like push pull with social media. And I was roped in a sense at the very beginning of Facebook,
right.
which I was in school at the New England Conservatory in Boston, starting in 2004. And in order to get on Facebook, you had to have a college email address.
Right.
So I was, amongst the first, I don't know, probably a couple, like, 100,000 or so people on Facebook. And immediately after leaving college, and actually during college too, because as a social networking thing, it was like, hey, come see this recital I'm playing on, or come to my ensemble's performance, or whatever it was. It at the very beginning, it was obvious to me that it was going to be a necessary part of my existence forever,
Yeah.
Wow.
because we can't well, and I have plenty of musician friends that are just not they don't mess with it, and I respect that too. Granted, none of them are my age.
Okay.
You know, they're all like 10 years older or more, and I totally respect that. And I think it comes back to what we were just talking about. It's this whole thing gives individuals this ultimate access to anything, but whether or not you should partake,
Yeah, that's the
you know,
question.
yeah, that's the question. And I think it then becomes a matter of personal style. You know, how do you want to interact in the platform? Or even for me, more often, honestly, these days, it's how do I want to kind of guard myself by not interacting?
Yeah, man. Mel and I were driving the other day, and I don't know, just like a lot of people out there, our worlds have morphed, and my world has changed a lot. And I've gone through this weird adjustment period of like almost like grief, and
Mm-hmm.
just uncomfortability, and then having to like learn how to be in my own space for extended periods of time and not leaving the house and all this stuff you're talking about. We were driving, and Mel and I were talking about the news, and my boss and I were IMing back and forth, and I would present something and he would present the opposite, and then he would present something and I would present the opposite. And I told Mel, I said, the way things are, because there's so much out there right now, nothing is true. There's no
Yeah,
truth for any of us to hold on to, and that's a hard space to be in for human beings, because we really do look for that, like the
Hope.
absolute truth and hope
The
and all
answer,
that stuff.
yeah.
But then any viewpoint I give you, you can immediately find the opposite. So we're in this weird liminal space between truth and nothing, and there's nothing to hold
totally.
on to.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right. I mean, I've been finding that the I was just thinking this morning, it's like the whole idea has come to an apex with the notion of a virus, because we are now forced with all these opinions, ranging from expert to people that call everybody sheeple. And you know, it's then what do? You can make your own choice, but ultimately I think the truth in this matter will be seen, because we're dealing with a virus that, as far as we know, spreads through droplets that can travel in the air and sit on things. And you know, the people, I was just seeing there's an armed peaceful protest planned tomorrow. They're going to ride motorcycles up. I mean, and of course but it's like a motorcycle rally basically from Colorado Springs up to the Capitol. And you know, they've reached out. It's led by like some former Green Beret or something. You know, and I respect people's just
No.
passion for like doing what they believe in. Where it starts to get uncomfortable for me is when it's like the anger, I guess, really.
That's what I was going
That
to say, man. That I think
Mm-hmm.
if one thing has come into really sharp focus, it's the importance of coming from a place of love. Like that's
respect, just
yeah,
like,
that's the thing, man. Like you've got to come, if you start from there, I think that's really the only way to find truth in any of this is like, does it resonate with love? And if it doesn't, then it's probably bullshit. It's so crazy and gray. And like you're saying, I think Apple and I were talking about that the other day, like these armed protests that are going on, and I don't know, man. The world really did change in 7 weeks, dude. Like
mhm.
I didn't see any of this coming, and like,
When
Mhm.
people feel their freedoms, or everybody's starting to worry about their, freedom.
Oh man, so you're that. Yeah, that I think is shining a light in a dark corner of the American culture, because it's like rights without responsibilities equals adolescence.
Mm.
You know, it's just
shit, yeah.
we have our rights, but we also have the responsibility to take actions which will not impede and hopefully will improve the greater good.
That's a
Yeah.
not screaming fire in a
Yeah,
building.
exactly,
I hope not.
exactly, totally. And um, now the lines are blurred again because
We're told something that's not like we're only told it until we need it. And then once we need it, we can't cash in on it. You know,
Yeah.
like it's here, your college fund is here. Oh, wait, but did you need it for college? Because I wasn't planning on that. Like, we're needing to cash in on it, and they're like, oh, on second thought, that's not what we meant. You guys really don't have rights to say what you want unless you're saying what we want you to say. And that's been the hardest thing, is to see things that I have had sent to me, like, taken down from the internet because it's like controversial, because it goes against, and I'm like, I'm not even into conspiracy, nothing. But here it is, like, we're being faced with everything, conspiracy, not conspiracy, you know, weak truths, hard truths, friends that don't know what's going on, friends that are having problems with the virus. Like, there's so many things that are possibilities. So like what Aaron was saying, he was like, there's nothing to believe. Like, it was kind of like a gut punch, but at least it was like felt like an anchor of truth. The fact that there's nothing to believe in felt like it felt like there's like this morsel. And because like usually I'd be the one with like words of wisdom, or like, it's gonna be fine, and I feel mute right now. Like,
that's powerful, and I think there's a lot of beauty in that, honestly, and potential. Like in the experience that I've, and relatively limited experience with Buddhist philosophy that I've had, again and again, they come back to like abandon hope and give up. That basically hope is just fodder for disappointment. And also I've been getting into Stoicism, I saw in one of my friends, Adam Morford, who makes these super cool morphetes. I have one right here, I'll show you. He inherited his father's,
Wow.
have you seen these things?
Yeah. And Joe,
Yeah, Joe Russo has like a bunch of these. He's got a gigantic one, a tiny one. So Adam lives here in Colorado, and we've been tight ever since we met, just as kindred spirits, more than anything, really. And so I saw his Instagram story, and it was like this picture of from a page in this book, a handbook for new Stoics. And prior to this, I had no idea what really, I wasn't really that hip to what Stoicism even was. And that it comes from ancient Greece, and or I'm sorry, Rome, and like Emperor Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, and he's like one of the, I'd never even heard that guy's name, and it's so intertwined with Buddhist philosophy the way that I'm picking it up. I think it's really powerful because primarily it's saying you can only give mental energy towards things that are absolutely in your control, which you end up finding after studying is very little, but also a huge thing. And ultimately it boils down to your thoughts. I mean, you can control your mind in some sense. So it's that practice of like, I don't know, taking away the layer. There's plenty of ways to look at it, or analogies, metaphors, but taking away the veil, or just recognizing it, or whatever it is, putting something between you and your emotions. Also, like
A
who
buffer,
is watching the watcher kind of a
right?
Yeah.
question. And yeah, it's been really powerful during this time to.
How has it helped you, Mark? Like, what have you noticed from it?
I've noticed a sense of stability in knowing that there's so much that's just completely out of my control. In a
Letting
way,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, recognizing just how much pain and suffering I've put myself through, and just unnecessary suffering. I mean, there was this quote that I came across. I don't know who it's from, and this is not verbatim, but essentially that humans are the only sentient beings that will end up paying 1,000 times for one mistake.
Oh,
And
shit.
I mean, essentially talking about how we beat ourselves up,
Yeah.
you know, and regret, in that sense, is totally a human thing, you know. And I guess it's been powerful for me to just recognize that we've been doing this. We've been in this kind of internal struggle for forever, and people have been talking about it in really brilliant, with really brilliant thoughts for thousands of years,
Yeah.
and from many different angles. So kind of like, I really like the idea of religions like Baha'i, or, you know, Unitarianism. I know very little about them other than the fact that they are taking things in which resonate, like you were saying. Does it resonate with love?
Right.
And if it doesn't, then forget it. So it, you know, Baha'i says we should learn from all the great prophets. You know, we all have the same God.
Yeah. The
I
same
mean,
heart,
that's,
yeah.
and so I'm in a sense kind of, from my own personal experience and with different philosophy, kind of like piecing together things that resonate with me. And I guess oftentimes it's, the broader it is, the more compelling it is to me.
Yeah, well,
You
that
know,
leaves room. There's room in those broad things for us to feel the feeling of it and feel how it works with us, how we're made up. There's space in there. If it's absolute, there's no room to move around inside that thing. It is what it is, and that's that.
Yeah, no
But if
room to grow
yeah,
or
but if it's
anything.
broad like that,
yeah, right.
I can feel it and ask myself what it does for me. Really, what you're talking about really reminds me of Robert Anton Wilson, and he's written a
Time to
bunch
make
of
some
books.
notes.
Yeah, dude, check him out. But one of the things that I got from him that really like has stuck with me years and years and years is the only thing that I know for certain is my own experience. Your experience is interpreted through your lens, through your upbringing, through your biases, non-biases, moral code, everything that makes up your experience. So if you tell me something that happened, it may not be true for me because I am a
Totally.
completely different person. So your own experience is the only place that you can find that.
So then that makes truth malleable too, because
Well, yeah, you're right. I guess in the moment, it does. I mean, but what you're saying is experience teaches.
Yes.
Words don't teach.
Right. That was a
And
really good way to say that.
I mean, I've been feeling that, and kind of like sitting with that for, when was the last time we talked? Was it like a year ago?
We talked when you were here and
Or no, I mean like did a recording.
yeah, like a year.
Man,
Right?
what a year.
Dude.
Oh my God.
Mark. What?
What a year.
Wasn't it like the highest and the lowest you've ever had in your life?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but you can't have the highs without the lows is what I've learned. And like what you were saying, my response to what you said is exactly that same reason. I mean, if you feel like there's no hope, what an amazing place to start from. Like and honestly, that kind of a idea, and that it's probably like a direct quote from Pema Chodron, and some of her books have been like absolute anchors to me, like must read. I've been telling as many people about it as I possibly can right now. When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron.
Okay.
It's an incredible book. I mean, and the subtext of that is heart advice for difficult times. And she is just this incredible teacher that has a way of connecting that I think is super special. And she is a Buddhist teacher from the Tibetan tradition that made its way to the United States via Chogyam Trungpa, who founded the Naropa Institute, as well as the Shambhala Center in Boulder here in Colorado. So she is an American woman, born and raised.
The Western mind.
Yeah, exactly. But now she ended up in the late 60s, I believe, or early 70s, ended up becoming one of Chogyam Trungpa's disciples. And, then I don't know how many books she's written, but it's a lot. And some of them are like on Audible, and it's just her lectures, which are amazing too. And I just cannot more highly recommend her. I mean, incredible stuff. Really
I got
incredible.
3 credits to use right now, man. I'm in.
Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, I got one. I'm like, but
have you always been a searcher? Because there's some people that are just easy going and let it all just happen. You and I are like in that. And I think that's why I felt a connection with you the first time we talked, is we both have that thing. Have you always been that way?
I've always been a thinker. And I think as I've grown older, I have seen the double edges of that sword. And as a musician, in high school, I remember so clearly my teacher telling me essentially, like, you gotta go easier on yourself, because you're doing a good job, but you're making it a lot harder for yourself, and you're gonna impede your process, your learning process, and your growing process. And of course, I wasn't able to apply it more broadly in my life. I was like 15 years old.
You don't hear that the right way at 15.
But I was hearing, okay, like, don't get so pissed off at yourself if you crush down that double stroke roll, or whatever, So yeah, throughout the journey, I have always been this way, but I don't know, I've gravitated towards things that seem like they put like a lasso around it, but not in a way that it's constraining it, like a way that it's like a power lasso or something. I don't know.
It changes shape. It's like Wonder Woman's thing.
Yes, that's what I was trying to. I didn't want to like put that out there because I had no idea what the reference was, but like, yeah, and you gotta like all of a sudden tell the truth or whatever. Is that what her thing is?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So, and also I've for a long time really just been so grateful for a life in which I could bring it all together. And music is such an incredible way to transmute. You know, you can take this emotion and then you transmute it into, can be a terrible, I mean, and after Neil's death, grief and sorrow and fear and just anger and, you know, everything, all of that. And it was terrible. Just like, but the best thing during that time was playing music.
It didn't hurt.
Did it hurt?
Yeah. Did it hurt?
No.
'Cause
No.
I feel like
And
when stuff like that happens, sometimes it's difficult to go back to it because it's so reminiscent that it's painful to revisit.
I think that's catharsis.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
You know, I mean, that's what it felt like in the moment. For sure, for me, and I mean, I think I could speak for the other guys too, because, and those, man, like when we had to start first to think, can we go on? Do we want to? That was really the first question, I guess. Do we each individually even want to do that? And of course, you know, like you just said, maybe it would be super painful, but I think when we started to finally like get to the point where you actually have to go like, oh shit, this is actually it. I'm not thinking about it anymore. I'm actually doing it. That's when it became really cathartic. And I was talking to Dave Schools in the weeks after Neil left, and he was the one that put the notion of transmutation in my head. And, you know, also that our souls basically entered into a contract to come back to this plane, and we had certain things which we will learn or experience. And it was, would I ever want to do that again? Absolutely not. Am I grateful for the experience as it happened? Yeah, I guess I am. Even though I still obviously have, you know, there's a lot of pain involved in thinking about this guy. You know, he's on my cup. And honestly, sometimes he's sitting there and I just turn it around. And I'm like, I can't look at you right now.
Can't
you know?
I just can't.
But on the other side, I have Carl Denson.
You know, when all that went down, man, like a lot of people out there had connection with him in one way or another, and it affected a lot of people in a lot of different ways. But you and I texted, I don't know how long after, and you guys hadn't decided whether you were gonna keep going. And you had asked me, you know, what I thought, and I appreciate that, man. That meant a lot to me in that whole thing that was going on. But you know, my first thought was like, absolutely, you got to do it. Like that's what that machine, that beautiful garden that you've grown can't just go fallow. Like it has to move on, has to keep going. But it's so easy for me to say sitting from my porch. You know what I mean? Yeah, dude, do it. Like in that space when you finally decide, okay, like we're doing this, we're going to continue on. Is it like finding your legs again? When you yeah.
But I gotta say, for me, and I was already kind of on my personal journey that stemmed from heartbreak, you know, and when we talked last, I was like, ugh, deep in that. I was, oh my God, yeah, I was so manic during those times. And we were on tour, and I had never felt so alone in my life. And it's nothing against anybody that I was with. They're all great friends and very mindful, loving, open people. And Neil included. He gave me a lot of support during that time. But you know, you get into the bunk, and that was like my dream. I've been working towards the dream of touring, traveling in a bus for
with a bunk.
Oh my God, yeah, you know, and then I was in there, and it was like this coffin of desperation and loneliness. You know, it was like, oh my God, what the hell is this? And then basically around that time, I started saying, I'm living my dream, and dreams can get really fucking weird. So I'm still saying that. I mean, look at us now, you know? Yeah. So, you know, so I started that really introspective kind of healing and growth journey, I guess you could say. And then Neil left, and it sort of was like I was growing this leg back, you know, and then it got chopped off. And then the you know, the process just continued with a different it put perspective on my previous grief, really, like, so in that way it's just a process, and it was all cumulatively happening and connected, and that continues today with this whole thing. Is such a mental, it's more mental than anything that I've been through, for sure, because you know, the sedentary or like stuck in one place thing. So I feel super grateful to, you know, like the place that I am. I'm not, you know, in an abusive relationship. I'm not, like, there's so many things that my heart goes out to people out there. And you know, it's springtime, and all the plants are just like, the renewal is incredible. I mean, I had to cut these rose bushes down to the ground like a month and a half ago or something, and they are like, it's insane. I mean, I can maybe show you later, but they're like, it's so awesome. There's big fat rosebuds are just coming up, and like, it's like it never happened. Like, that destruction never happened. And this rose garden for me is like an incredible, I don't know, like, analog to what's, it's, and seeing it every day, they're growing bigger and more lush, and you know, really all over my yard. I mean, got like some peonies coming up and irises, and there's the lilac tree is like kind of finishing, and the smells are amazing. And you know, so this whole thing is, I don't know, how do we appreciate things without having perspective?
I've go ahead, Apple. What were you gonna say?
No, that's, we brought that up several times, like through all the, like, it's spring, like spring is sprung. We're supposed to be out celebrating and congregating, and you know, I mean, it is what it is. We're dealing with it, like you said, kind of in our bubbles, but it makes it even tougher with it being what is going on in the world as far as Mother Nature and everything. Which, you know, everybody wants to go camping. You can't go. You know, a lot of things we are supposed to be doing. That's human nature, like to be out and doing stuff. We can't right now.
Well, I mean, if you take a look just in our little square of land that we live on, there's so much life happening. There's thousands of birds and slugs and rabbits and deer and like squirrels in my garden this morning stealing tomatoes. And like,
it is,
you know, and there's all this stuff going on. And it's amazing to sit and watch it, because people, the vibration of people, the hive is calm right now. There's not a lot of vibration in the hive. So all the animals are like, what the fuck happened to all the people, man? Let's go check it out. And so they're like going nuts.
And it's spring.
And it's spring, and they're getting candy and ready to mate, and everything's happening out there. And what you're talking about is huge, man. That taking it down to the ground where it looks like it's never coming back. That thing is just decimated. And then, a few weeks later, there's a rose bush with buds on it. It's like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
We have a plant out front. It's called a princess
And this
plant.
is the emotional equivalent of what's happening with our society. We're being cut down to, we're being pruned so far down where it seems like we have took everything off that's good. But in order to get all the cancer out, in order to get all the junk out, you have to go deep. And in fact, you got to go a little bit deeper than the healthy tissue, just in case, So you got to get that and then some. And so this is why it's riding so long. This is the and then some part.
We're in the and then some part.
Yeah. And it's different for everybody. Like, I hear what you're saying, Mark. Like, there's other people in worse positions, but you know what? Like, we're not them. And at some point we have to think about ourselves. We really do. We have to heal ourselves. We have to think about ourselves. We have to give ourselves the energy. And you're like, okay, it's hard for so-and-so down the street, but right now I need to concentrate on Mark in my room right now. Like, I need to clear up my anxiety. I need to clear up my, regrets. I need to strengthen my, whatever it is that we're looking for, because we can't just go through all this and then like, it's for nothing.
Well, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that sentiment recently too. Actually, I think it was actually from an email from a rabbi.
Oh, really?
At the Chabad up in Vail. I'm on their email list, and every Friday they do this Zoom l'chaim, before Shabbat starts. And his note in the email was basically about how it would be a total mistake and a waste to go back to the way we lived before.
There's no way.
I mean, and I take that on a spiritual level. I take that on a logistics, or like an actual literal level too. But what that's going to look like, I think, depends on individuals. So as a country, we're going to see. I have no clue. I have no clue what it looks like. Of some portion at some point when the time comes. I just have no idea when it is, and that's honestly totally fine with me at this point. I'm maybe I do acknowledge that because I am a musician, that like all of us, we're not working as we were. I mean, there are some opportunities that I'm super grateful for, like tonight.
Yeah, I was gonna
Circles. Yeah, we're the Live from Out There online festival, and Live for Live Music is doing one that we're going to be a part of coming up too. And there's all sorts of things like that very cool, but it's just so different, and I was just, to finish the thought, I was just acknowledging that because we were the first to get grounded, and we're also going to be the last to get to resume whatever as normal, as close to normal as it gets, whatever that is. It's not going to happen for a while. We all have accepted that. I think that maybe that's also why I'm not like, get me back out there. I want to go, like, I don't know. I wouldn't go drink a beer in a bar right now if somebody paid me $1,000. And believe me, I could use it.
That was the best couple sentence I've heard.
And it's not nothing. I'm not trying to, throw shade on people that do. I'm just saying, for me personally, my rate of like needing to get back into that, it's just, I don't know. I guess I've already put it in my head, whatever. Some people would call me a sheeple or whatever, that I, I've already sort of accepted, okay, this is going to be a protracted battle against this vicious virus that I do believe is killing as many people as they say it is. And I do believe it is a massive global disaster. So if it means I have to sit in my beautiful, safe home with cleaner than ever air outside, and maybe not ever, but cleaner than normal air outside, and even if it, you know, I am totally, if that is what's going to help this situation heal itself, then I'll do whatever it takes, you know.
Wow.
And
That's
it's
a
not
sweet
like,
thought.
That's awesome, man.
It's a true sweet
Yeah.
thought, because you know what, like whatever it takes for all of us. You want me to stay here, I'll stay here. You want me to do it, I'll do it. Whatever. Like
we were saying before, this, to me, this is freedom. I feel free. I feel absolutely free. But also I feel responsibility to my fellow citizens. So for me to run out and just, like, I don't know, there's a million things I can think of going and doing right now that would be against, like, that would go against my gut, or, you know,
Yeah.
my heart. It's just not, that's not where and going back to what I was talking about before, it's like I'm not even thinking about that. I'm not even giving it any mental thought. Therefore, it's not producing anxiety, because I'm not worried about when I'm going back to work, because I have no control, zero control over that. So in order for me to just be healthy when it does happen, I'm not going to think about it.
Right.
I'm
When
not
it does
even,
come, it'll
you
be a
know,
gift.
that
and if
is
I do think about it, I'll acknowledge it and then just say, just let it go. And that's like the mindfulness meditation practice that coming into play. It's like that, the skill of being able to just recognize, like, that is not a helpful thought, or you are about to start thinking really hard on something you have no control over. Just let it go. Just, like, you know, I love the image of a feather just pushing a bubble away. You know, because I'm not like, no, kill it, kill the thought, you know, because then obviously you're going to create a trigger. Anytime that comes up, you're going to,
oh yeah.
you know,
Jump on it.
you're
Yeah.
triggered. So it's like, you know, face it. And that's been part of the process, you know, through a lot of this last year.
What?
Not
I
run
need
away,
this
you
conversation.
know.
Yeah,
I
Mark.
needed this, Mark.
That's
I really
such a
did.
smart
Well,
move
Thank you,
on
man.
your part with the whole meditation thing. It's just because what you're doing is, you just said earlier, this is like like a mental attack, what we're going through, right? Like this, but when you're
yeah.
strengthening your mind through meditation, that's exactly what is needed for this exact period. We don't need to like beef up. We don't need to have tons of money. We don't need to look cool. We need to strengthen our minds right now. So focus on that. And when we get out of that, then we can focus on fun, or focus on reestablishment, or focus whatever. But
Yeah.
you're playing the long game. And that's really awesome that because you look good. Like looking at you, you look
Thanks.
good. You look
You look
clear.
happy.
You look like as good as any other time we've seen you, you know? So clearly something is working. And
Well, thank you.
yeah,
Thank you so much for that. I mean, I appreciate it. I have been very focused. Maybe just different. The focus is different now because for the first time in my adult life, I mean, I've slept in my bed for more than 5 days straight.
dang.
Wow.
You know, I mean, and like I have part of my mental stability over a year ago became physical stability. So I was driving Cat's manager crazy, you know, making sure that our like the hotel where we had a day room on tour at least had some sort of a shitty little gym or something like that, because when everybody else is taking their showers, I'd be in the gym getting my head right. And not only was that part of it, it relieved some of my anxiety about my body breaking down playing, 2-hour shows,
Yeah.
10 days straight, which, we just did at the end of February, beginning of March, right before this all hit the fan with Metzger. And that was like, I don't know, it was 10 days straight all over the Northeast. And I think a year ago, I would have been like so terrified that my body wasn't going to be able to make it or like perform up to my standards. And we did it, and I was like ready to go for more after 10 days. I could have done like another 10 days. And believe me, we all wanted to, and we had this tour. We were going to come and see you guys.
Yeah.
And it all got, wiped off the map. But we will, we want to get back out there so bad. And
it's coming.
You guys, I'm excited. I'm super excited for you guys to hear. I know we released our like live album, which is all circles with Metzger. But, as this stuff comes out, I feel like whenever I listen to it, I just get really excited for the future because, it's a band, and Scott is such a phenomenal musician and such a deep and sensitive and smart person that he's able to, and he also comes from like a very similar place, like cosmic, or not cosmic, like literally place. Like he's from New Jersey. He was like a metal kid, he's kind of like alt a little bit like Neil was. And I don't know, like Krasno also incredible.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, Scott really, I don't know, it was amazing. Yeah. And I don't know. He has, I just can't imagine anybody like right now, at this, this moment in the evolution of our band that is better to, take up what Neil started and honor it in a way that is just like feels really, really true and genuine. And when I listen back to these recordings with him, all of that stuff is just like coming to me energetically, and I'm like, oh my God. And it started really this week because we were listening back to, I honestly didn't really, I listened to like the mixes of our live record and stuff, and I don't know, maybe it was just because we were still kind of deep in this thing. But this week, then preparing for the Live from Out There festival, and I got to go over to Ross James's porch, and we recorded that thing, me, him, and Todd Smalley. So that'll be on Sunday for Live for Live Music.
Oh, yeah.
These opportunities that kind of just appeared this week, along with listening to the music and playing a little bit with people, and then like listening to that, it was all just again really cathartic. Just like I don't know, I felt euphoric at times this week. Like I was on the phone with a few friends last night, and I was just like laughing hysterically about really nothing, but it was, I don't know. But it's not like I'm feeling these deep depths of like despair and depression either. I'm not manic or anything right now. It's like I am feeling very grateful that there are wheels turning, and I'm really excited about this cat set tonight.
How do you do it? Are you meeting in person?
Oh, excuse me.
Oh no.
That's all from the tour with Metzger.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, tonight, and a lot of the stuff we're using, so it's all like archival. Unfortunately, there's no like new stuff coming from Circles Around the Sun right now, but hopefully there will be. If things get better, where we can be in the same place, or we can all go to LA. I mean, we've already been talking about it a bunch. It's just not appropriate right now. We don't feel it is. And so what you're going to hear tonight is our show from March 5th at the Union Stage in DC. And Lance from the Mad Alchemist Liquid Light show has done a show over that music.
Oh,
so
cool.
Yeah, so you'll get to see his Liquid Light show and hear our audio from that show.
I'm in.
Right on.
So he's amazing. He's amazing with what he.
Yeah, he is amazing. He's totally like rejuvenated that form of art. Yeah, it's, I don't know. Nobody that I've seen does it like him. And yeah, I think he's done a really amazing job. And yeah, I'm psyched about the quality of it all, and how, we had the foresight to be recording all of our shows with multi-track. And I don't know, everything happens, and it happens because it happened, I mean, everything happens for a reason. Yeah, I know.
Because it happened.
Like,
Something.
It happened just because it happened. I don't know.
Well, we just don't know what the reason is half the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Something that we've talked about on the show a little bit is the gratitude factor of live music. And like, prior to all of this, not that I didn't appreciate going to shows and having live music. It's my favorite thing to do. I love that. But there's a new level of respect for the thing now.
How powerful
it is. And the visceral nature of missing it. Like it's a real feeling. It's a thing. Like,
yeah.
And when all this is said and done and we are at a show again, because there's gonna be shows again someday. It's gonna happen. It's just inevitable. People gather. It happens. We're human. When that happens, those first few shows are gonna be way different than anything any of us have ever experienced before. It's going to be a new thing for all of us. We're going to be learning together again how beautiful this thing is, and that vibration of gratitude and love for the thing is renewed. It's like I said this before, like when you're a kid and you have a toy and somebody takes it away from you and then they give it back to you, you really appreciate that thing, and it's different than it was before. And this thing is going to be way different, man. And with people like you that are actually doing the work in the down season, there's something magical happening, man. There is this garden is
the roses are gonna boom.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, it's really like thinking of all of the experiences, like like you just said, in which you have something taken from you. Sometimes it takes somebody death, or sometimes it takes somebody betraying you, or sometimes it takes a global pandemic. I mean, it really is such powerful opportunities to really find out where your foundation is based.
Where's your
and I think again and again, like all these stupid old sayings that are like, oh, so cliche, they're just powerful in different perspective. Like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and you said in the right time.
Like really, it's crazy that to think how resilient we really are. And I think it's super important. Resilience has come back again and again and again for me as just like an incredibly important and valuable quality to, I mean, you don't have to have it, but you should try to
cultivate it.
Cultivate it. Yeah. And that's totally at the root of really everything I'm doing in this like long game, kind of like, okay, I'm gonna make sure that my body is not disintegrating, so then I would get back on the kit and have to like, oh crap, like who is this person, you know? Or like the garden, just you know, like I'm careful with what kind of fertilizer I use out there, and I use all organic stuff in there, and every time I put the little tiller thing I have into the soil to weed around those bushes, there is like worms and like roly-polies and all sorts of like crazy just life happening in the bed of that garden. And it makes me realize that those plants that were decimated are only able to do that because they've got really badass strong old roots under there, and it's surrounded by healthy soil. So like what will take out that combination aside from like an absolute, you know,
destruction from underneath.
Or
yeah,
somebody ripping it out by the roots.
right, like a extinction, you know,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
extinguish it, it's gone. But I mean, this is I just think a really powerful time for us to kind of sit into our resilience and find it. And you know, maybe that means a little bit more attention to our mental health, or maybe it's a little more attention to our physical health in order to aid our mental health. Or you know, and also like the mind body connection is so real, and remembering that right now I think is really important. um
You brought
it,
up sleeping in your bed for the first time longer than 5
ah,
minutes. Check this out, man. Have you ever seen those? I don't know what kind of flower it is, but I think it might be an iris or a lily, and they grow without soil, and the roots are just like in a glass ball. Have you seen those?
yeah, it's like
Fucking-
a
There's a lot.
lily, like, right?
Oh yeah, I think
There's a lot of flowers that'll do
Yeah.
that, like some succulents or
right. But that's
orchids can do that.
like that's a musician's life. They not rooted in soil, just
Mm.
in the jar. Everybody's looking at it and can see the roots and all the stuff, and it's on display. And for the very first time in your life, you're planted. You're fucking planted, dude. And I think that's why you're resonating with the garden so strong, is because it's the first time that you have a bed and you're home. You
Oh
see,
man, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that you're right. It's totally I have been always working with the fact that I'm constantly moving. So meditation practice would be difficult because sometimes you got to wake up at 5 in the morning and go to the airport. And when are you supposed to meditate? I mean, I could definitely go and sit in a quiet corner of an airport somewhere and meditate. Unfortunately, I'm just not there yet with my practice.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really an option for me at the
Mhm.
time. I did start meditating in like the back lounge of the bus, which could be weird because sometimes like, you know, the bus turns on and starts moving or whatever, or like sometimes people have to get in there to get their jeans out of a drawer, or I don't know. So, you know, all these obstacles to this consistency that I think is really important in practice, like with music. Indian classical musicians have known for a long time that consistent and steady practice is the best way to reach good results. So there's a word for it, riyaz, and riyaz is not just practicing every day, it's practicing at the same time every day for the same amount of time, and it's very structured, and it's in order to build up this like muscle memory, but the muscle is your brain, you know. So practicing anything is not just like I'm doing it so it's done and I practiced it. There's always a technique behind the practice, that no, you know, approach is exactly the same because all of our brains are different, you know. We can, and that is really at the, I think the root of experience teaches, words don't teach, you know, because it's about how we're doing it, how are we actually doing this thing. And I think also it's important to recognize right now that they call it task positive activity, like cooking, drawing, gardening, playing an instrument, whatever, doing something with your hands that you're focused on, and you are not, this is not, I shouldn't have done
that.
that.
Unless you're writing.
Like, yeah, writing, totally. But it is really good for our brain, because it's essentially like refocusing us on what is actually happening,
bringing you into the moment,
bringing us into the moment, and focusing our energy and our attention. So, you know, again, it's like a little hack that you can use, but you can also totally ignore that and still, like, I've been in practice sessions in my life where I'm just like totally going through the motions, because I'm like, I gotta get in an hour right now or whatever.
right?
And again and again, you know, you find that those are not the best times. And oftentimes the most productive and the best times, and there's even a quote from Yo-Yo Ma about this. He says, if, you know, the times that you do not want to go and practice are the times that you should go and practice. Like when you feel like you just absolutely don't want to, that's really when you should go and do it. And you know, there's a lot of different things like that. Like it's easy to meditate, you know, at the mouth of the cave where the temperature is perfect and the weather is beautiful.
Right.
But try going into the cave, you know, and meditating there. That would be, you know, they say that would be a more beneficial practice. But you might not be ready for that. You know, it might just be a fucking scary dark cave and you wouldn't get a second of practice in,
Yeah.
you know?
Really. You brought up cooking, so I'm gonna ask a silly question. Are you, well, first question is, are you vegetarian?
No.
Okay, I'm not either. So,
but I mean, I think it's great. I was a vegetarian for moral reasons for 2 years.
okay,
But I stopped because I felt really anemic all the time, and
your body needed something different.
So
yeah,
what
I just
were
felt
those
like I
moral
needed.
feelings?
Wait. I was gonna, hang on.
Sorry.
He's gonna lose it.
I'm gonna lose it. We have a routine in the house. There's 5 of us, 5 adults, and everybody has a dinner night, right? So
Oh,
like
cool.
one person.
I wish I had that.
Tonight's my dinner night,
Nice.
and I haven't had any new input, so I cook the same things over and over again. So help me out, man. What should I make for dinner?
Oh no. Well, what have you been making?
What's one of your staples?
Oh man. Okay. One of my staples, I guess, has been like these oven, like one pan, like one sheet pan dinners, because I love it. I can just like chop up some potatoes, chop up an onion, and then put some chicken on there and throw it in the oven for 45 minutes. And maybe in the last 15 minutes, I'll put in like some asparagus or broccoli or something else to roast. So it's all super basic meat and potatoes, literally, with like a green vegetable.
Yeah.
Or I've been making chicken fingers, like oven baked chicken fingers that are like amazing. I'll just like chop them up and put them on a big salad. And that's been another kind of one of my staples. But that's kind of, I don't know if that's like really appropriate for like
that's fair.
feeding
That's
5 adults.
No,
Well, I like the one dish thing. I mean, that we love doing stuff like where everything, so you don't have like a whole bunch of side dishes, pots of everything's in one, like casserole type thing.
Yeah, you're and like
everything you need.
The cleanup too. I mean,
yeah,
you know, just chop up some like garlic or mince up some garlic and put it in there, and some oil, and just like literally the other night I just put like these boneless, skinless chicken thighs with potatoes and onion and like some oil and some seasonings, and just like tossed it in a bowl and threw it on a pan and put it in the oven for like 45 minutes. And it was so easy. And honestly, that has been one thing. I didn't really cook that much. I liked to cook, but didn't have the opportunities to do it very much. And now I'm feeding myself 7 days a week. So it's sort of like I'm taking advantage of these little hack things that I find. Like it's just one sheet, and then, you know, I take it off and I clean the pan and it's done. You know, don't have like a million, like every pot and pan that I own is out there dirty, and I'm like, all right, whatever, you know.
What Aaron Aaron bought a Dutch oven not long ago, which we've been talking
Nice.
about for a week. Those are amazing too. You just throw everything in there and it cooks so
God.
good.
Yeah, it's cool living with the people that I'm fortunate enough to be here with. That they're just like, everybody loves each other and loves to cook. So it's
That's
like
awesome.
everybody's trying to outdo each other with the, like, oh, you
That's
made
awesome.
that meatloaf and broccoli. I'm gonna hook it up. I'm breaking.
Yeah, you can't phone
chicken
it in the next
parmesan.
night with
Yeah.
I opened a can of chili.
Have a little respect.
Yeah.
That's cereal night.
Mark, man, I just want you to know that I appreciate you, brother, and I love you, man. For
Thanks,
real.
man.
Yeah,
I appreciate you
you
too.
really did
Appreciate all you
something
guys.
today, man.
Yeah.
I needed to hear what you said. I have a problem with forward thinking.
He gets stuck there.
I get stuck sometimes
Oh man,
in the
me too, bro.
in the forward, and you just reminded me some good shit today, and I'm gonna take it and use it. I need to be more comfortable. I've been really like
agitated,
but like not wanting to express the agitation, and like
You've
on
been
low simmer,
flailing around in it a
Yeah.
little, like,
And
I'm
Yeah.
fine.
gritted teeth, like I'm good. And so thanks, dude. I felt
Oh man,
I felt the pressure release today.
sweet. That makes me really happy. It makes me feel great. I'm glad to hear that. And thanks
should feel
for
great.
inviting me to come talk to you guys. I love
We gotta
talking
stay
to
in
you guys.
closer touch. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Well, everybody out there, you know what to do. Like,
Yeah.
it's cats.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, 8 o'clock tonight, your time.
Wait,
It's a free set on Live from Out there.
hang on.
Live from
I'm gonna
out
record
there.
this and put it out.
I'll throw it on Instagram.
Oh, cool.
Instagram.
Yeah, am I doing a little ad?
For yourself.
How can I do
Just
that?
record
out.
him doing it, and then
Yeah, but
post it.
Nobody can hear it. Hang on.
Oh, right.
Oh.
Hang on. I'm gonna figure it out. Here we go. Boom.
Or after you hang up, follow up with them
Nope.
on. Okay, I was going to say there's many ways to.
Go for it.
Well, you're not seeing him.
It's okay.
Oh. Okay.
8 o'clock tonight, West Coast time, 11 p.m. East Coast time, Circles Around the Sun, Live from Out There Online Music Festival, free set, 1 hour with the Mad Alchemist Liquid Light Show visuals. It's a live archival set from March 5th at the Union Stage in DC. It's a hot show. Check it out.
Woo!
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Perfect. We'll get that out there, man.
Cool. Well, I hope you guys dig it. And then on Sunday, Ross James's Dylan and the Dead. That was actually recorded live. Warts and all. First time we had played, any of us had played any music with other human beings for like 2.5 months.
On the
So it
porch.
was super on the porch. Yeah, 6 feet apart. And that's going to be at 3 o'clock your time on Sunday.
Okay.
Heck yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, brother. I love you, man. Go have a good day today.
It's good to see your
Thank
smile.
you guys.
Yeah.
Great to see you guys.
Later, brother.
Take care. Peace.